Welcome to Around Town, featuring what's happening here in the greater Concord area. I'm your host, Dick Patten. It's a pleasure to welcome you back as we're now in the half through the month of April and heading toward May, but we're now actually in 'tis the season, as I've said many times, and we've started the political process, and as you know, we've got through the federal part for now. Now we're heading toward the state part in county. And so today, I'm pleased to have as my second round of guests, I have Chris Sununu, who is our current executive counselor for the state of New Hampshire, and he's also a Republican candidate for the office of governor. So I'm pleased to have Chris come on and tell us why in the world he wants to go up to the governorship. But I'm glad you are trying, yes, because I think you've got a lot on the ball. Where some
I appreciate that.
Well, Chris, I've known you and I've known your family for a long, long time. I mean, your dad's personal secretary, Jackie Galuzzo, sold us her condominium when she was his secretary here in Concord.
Kidding.
Yes.
Yeah.
We bought her condo, her and her husband. They live over here in the Heights.
Mm-hmm.
So
right. Big supporters of mine still down in the Galuzzos in Salem, Jackie Kennedy up in Concord. So it's some supporters never go away. So that's a great thing.
Well, your family has always been very proactive, and they've always been down to earth people. They don't have their nose up in the air like some of them do.
Well, we try. We were talking earlier. Public service is just that in New Hampshire. It's public service. It's not a career. It's how you tithe your time, how you give back, whether you run for the House or maybe the Selectmen or the school board, whatever it might be.
Yeah.
I ran for the Executive Council in 2010. It's something I do kind of on the side of running my main business. I run and own Waterville Valley Resort, as you know, up in the White Mountains.
But that is quite an adventure up there.
Yeah, and it's great. I mean, I have 700 employees. We're a year-round resort, and that really drove a lot of why I want to run for governor. It's the disconnect I see. You have very well-intentioned people in Concord on the Republican side, on the Democrat side. Great people for the right reasons. They really believe they want to make a change and keep the state moving in a good direction. But where we do see a difference, and I think a disconnect, I think that's a fair word, is leadership that understands how their policies are really impacting people's lives. So we can talk about Obamacare, we can talk about minimum wage, the lack of an energy plan for the state, all these things. We talk about them in Concord. I live and breathe them every day with my employees back up north. And, it's okay. This is what's happening. This is the regulation we're dealing with. This is what it's going to cost us. Therefore, maybe we can't invest capital, or we can't expand into new areas, or we can't do certain things we'd like to do as a business. That translates not just to mine, but to every business in the state. And that's really, really why I decided to run. I think we have to get a better hold. We need somebody in the executive office that's on the front lines of these issues, that's dealing with them every day at a very real grassroots level. We could talk education. Education is a big reason why I'm running.
Yeah.
I think the state has fundamentally changed how it goes about public education. I know because I grew up in the education system here. I have a 4th grader and a 5th grader myself. I'm living it. So we can debate Common Core or standardized testing or whatever you like. I'm living and breathing those issues every single day as a dad and as a parent and as a husband. And it's not like it used to be. We have lost the essence of our local control, which made it so special, right? That, whether you're Republican or Democrat, Independent, everyone knows in New Hampshire, our local control is really what makes us different. We're losing a lot of that. Washington is coming in. We've let Washington come in. We've deferred some big decisions. We've kicked the can down the road. We're still a very good state. There's no doubt about it. I'm an eternal optimist. But we're not as good as we could be. We're not great. Good is not good enough. We need real leadership to make some decisive decisions to really push Washington out of here, do things different, shake things up a little bit in Concord, and get back to the fundamentals that made us great in the first place.
But do you think that sometimes New Hampshire government is overloaded with people or whatever? I mean, we all hear about Washington, how there's so many employees out there or whatever. But I look around sometimes and I wonder, do we have an overload of people?
I'm not. It could be. I don't know if it's not like Washington for sure. Yeah. I don't know if we have an overload of people, but I do believe we have an overload of bureaucracy and regulation that just stifles business and innovation here. We were known for being a place of innovation and business growth and where young businesses would come. But given what we see now with our high cost of healthcare, our high workers' comp rates, some overbearing regulations, whether it's out of environmental services or labor. Pick your department in the state. We are a very over-regulated state, and in many ways, those are the hidden taxes that you see. Sure, we have no broad-based tax of a sales tax or income tax. Thank goodness. I would never support anything like that. But what we have done is tax people every other way possible. And to be blunt, I feel like we've gotten to the point where when the state needs more money, we're treating people like an ATM. We're going out and saying, well, we need more money, so now you give it up. Yeah. That's not right. You have to grow that revenue organically by driving your economy forward. We have a very stagnant economy right now. I don't believe in running the state like a business because it's the people's money. You need transparency. But you do need business leadership in the corner office to know how to entice business in, go to talk to business leaders, understand what their needs are at their level, and be able to grow and create those policies that are going to impact them and their employees' lives for the better. Yeah.
Interesting.
It's a lot. It's a lot.
Well,
we have a lot of issues in the state, but we need to be able to grab them.
Owning Waterville Valley, I was thinking about one candidate mentioned something, and I assume, of course, in your case, you don't own other companies in the world, where one owned a company here, and they also outsourced it over to, I don't know, the Mideast or somewhere. There was a couple of countries there he mentioned, and I thought,
well, there's no outsourcing of skiing to the Middle East. I can guarantee you that.
And I asked him. I said, so America first, or what are we? I mean, I thought we were trying to get them back here instead of sending all these jobs over to the other countries.
There are a lot of jobs going overseas. There's no doubt about it. I'm more concerned about jobs leaving this state. So when you look at BAE or Ruger or Foss, there's a bunch of companies. They're doing their expansion projects out of state.
Oh, I know.
Partly because we have no long-term plan to get our energy costs under control. And that's important, not just, manufacturing is still the lifeblood of our economy. And when you can't bring new manufacturers, when was the last time we brought a major business into the state? It's been years.
Well, all the factories are gone and basically gone in Concord that we used to have. Pennacook had BD Electric up there. We had Sprague. We had Northeast Electronics. A lot of those places, they're gone.
Too often people have become complacent and they say, well, they're gone. We can't get them back. No way. We absolutely can get them back. Yeah. Quick example. GE, General Electric, moved their national headquarters recently, or announced they're going to be moving them from Connecticut. New Hampshire had the opportunity to go down and make a presentation, entice them up here, maybe over to Pease or somewhere in the, somewhere to bring them up here. In the past, we would have been the number one state to be able to bring them up. We lost that opportunity to Boston. Governor Baker in Massachusetts has been doing a great job. He gave them a nice big tax credit. They went down there. Yeah. I've spoken to some of the folks at GE, and they've said very clearly, it was clear that the leadership in your state didn't understand what we needed to entice us up here. And when you have a governor going out there saying, well, business taxes really don't matter except to large out-of-state corporations, that's a horrible thing to say when you're the number one job of a governor is to bring business in and to grow business. You have to have that mindset and truly understand what it means at a grassroots level to start bringing these companies in, understand what their needs are, and start moving the ball forward. Our economy is essentially stagnant. We have very low unemployment. Well, that's wonderful. But remember, unemployment is defined by the number of people looking for a job and can't find one. We have a lot of able-bodied people in the state that are no longer looking for work.
No.
We have young people that are leaving in droves. We have a state that's getting older, and the average age of the state has now surpassed Florida, which is all fine, but that means more folks are on fixed incomes, and we need to make sure we have a vibrant economy to support those economics at the community levels. I can't tell you the number of people, seniors that I've talked to, that have to leave their homes because they can no longer afford the high property taxes. Yeah. And it's not, I don't mind the fact that we have a strong property tax base because we can control our taxes at that level. But our property taxes are getting so high that it's not sustainable for those on fixed incomes. That means that we need to support it with a more vibrant economy, bring more revenue into the system, and you do that not by taxing people, but by growing business organically. We just haven't had that mindset here in a long time. That's exactly what I'm going to bring back to the corner office.
Well, what makes me laugh is how they say New Hampshire's tax-free. We're not tax-free. We have more taxes than anything. We don't have a sales tax. We don't have an income tax. But look at all the other taxes.
You're absolutely
Taxes
right.
on everything.
People, you have folks out there that say, they take the pledge, no broad-based tax, which is important, and I would never support a broad-based tax. But with that, comes the spirit of keeping your tax base low. Fundamentally, you can't take the pledge on broad-based taxes that you're not going to increase them, but then hit the people with car registrations, boat registrations, hunting license here, local fees there. You can't do that. That's not fair to the people. It doesn't drive a good, vibrant economy. It doesn't do what we need to do. It chases businesses away.
Yep.
Forget about trying to entice them in. We can't even keep the ones we have. You need a business leader that knows those dynamics to actually get the economy going in. I've been living and breathing that world for the last 5 years at Waterville Valley, 6 years now at Waterville Valley Resort with my employees every day in and day out, understanding their issues. That's the experience that I think the corner office really needs.
Sure. I know, because it just gets me. We had a Grange conference Saturday up in Laconia, and some of the topics that came up, of course, was Northern Pass, and of course the gas line over on the west side coming over through the south there, and they were very adamant that they also wanted to see those lines buried, not those big things up in the air. And of course, in Concord, so far, this district that I represent, there's one area right out back here that those lines, if they poles were come right up to somebody's back doorstep.
Yeah.
And so, of course, they're up in arms about it.
Sure.
And then the other thing they got talking about was passenger rail, which you and I have had many talks about, that they would like to see the rail brought back up here. They didn't understand about the $4 million in study, and we explained it out to them that it wasn't New Hampshire money, that it was federal funds coming in, and supposedly it was to upgrade the tracks, how much it's going to cost to upgrade those tracks. And the other one was about the needle exchange and all that, which is a stupid idea. I mean, I can't believe anybody want to exchange needles. No matter how clean they are or what they are, I wouldn't take a chance with all the and of course the drug problem,
which is the number one crisis hitting the state without a doubt, the opioid crisis. But you bring up a lot of good issues there. So Northern Pass for one. Look, we need more power, baseload generation into New England.
Yeah.
Northern Pass I think has done a very good job in terms of I think they decided to bury 60 more miles of the line. Burying the line all the way, that's just not going to happen. It's not practical. It would actually drive costs way up, because ultimately, us that pay that buy electricity, the ratepayers have to pay for that. So you can bury anyone who tells you, bury all the line. They don't understand the economics, because even if Eversource were to agree to that, us as individuals are going to have to pay for it, and prices are going to go up. The whole point of this is to drive prices down. They've done a very good job, I think, working with local communities up north. They still have a ways to go. We still have a permitting process that'll determine what's appropriate and what isn't. The plan may change a little more, and there's nothing wrong with that. But I do give them credit. They're working closer with local communities, more closely than they ever have before, especially in the North Country. And to put 1,100 more megawatts of power into New England would be an absolute game changer. There's no doubt that prices will be reduced. They'll take that through the permitting process, and we'll see where we go. And I think it'll get done. We do need it, but it has to be done within the constraints of working with the local communities. The NAD pipeline, which you brought in, again, more natural gas coming in. Again, we need more natural gas, but do they need to do a better job of working with local communities, reducing the eminent domains and all that, takings and all that? Absolutely. They're way behind the times, frankly. All the gas needs to be subscribed to, what we call being subscribed to, so we know it's not being exported. I'd never stand for that.
Yeah.
But we need more natural gas, and I think whether it comes to New Hampshire, we need some more in Massachusetts, into Connecticut, all across. We do not participate in the abundance of natural gas to lower our energy prices like the rest of the country does. But we can, and we need to make that happen. It has to be done our way, the New Hampshire way, with local control attached to it. And if we do that, I think it'll be very successful. You bring up the opioid crisis. Again, one of the top reasons why I got into this race. A lot of people, when you have 1,000 people dead in the last 2 years because of opioids, and that's what we know of, by the way. That's 1,000 families just torn apart.
Oh yeah.
Just torn apart. I've visited the recovery centers. I've toured them, not just with the administration, but I've taken hours and sat down with these clients who have been through this process to understand how did they get here, what led them here. I'm an engineer. by trade. I'm an environmental engineer for many, many years. So I'm always trying to get to the root cause of things. But you only do that by sitting down with these folks and understanding. My plan looks at very aggressive prevention programs in schools, more workplace initiative programs so employers get educated on identifying and the warning signs. Too often we have folks that become addicted and they quickly get pushed out of their job and they go down an even worse hole. We need to empower employers and give them resources to help work their employees through the recovery system so they can retain them. It's better for the clients, it's better for the employees, it's better for everybody. It saves you money when you do that. It makes better economic sense. And what most people don't realize is that when you're looking at trying to entice a business into New Hampshire, and you're trying to tell someone that, yeah, we need a viable workforce over the next 30 years, until we get this substance abuse crisis under control, it's hard to make that case that we have viable and strong workforce for them to tap into. This is really affecting our stagnation 20 to 30% when it looks at why our economy is so stagnant. We need to get this under control. And I'll be very critical here. The governor has been an absolute disaster on this issue. You have a governor who chose a drug czar that refused to get on the front lines. Within months, we were calling for his resignation because he hadn't visited a recovery center or worked with law enforcement directly or done any of the things you really need to do to understand the issue. And I said, Governor, this isn't political. You just need to fire this man and get someone in. People are dying. It is not politics. It is about life and death. And she refused. To the point where we were given a $12 million grant for substance abuse by the federal government, and when WMUR knocked on the governor's door and said, this is great, we awarded this grant, what are we going to do with the money? Their response was, we don't know what you're talking about. We don't know, we're not aware of this. How can you have a drug czar amongst the biggest health crisis the state's ever seen, and you don't know what's going on? That's shameful.
Oh, I know.
People are dying out there. Tens of thousands of families who haven't lost loved ones are draining their bank accounts or their 401ks to get help for their loved ones. This has massive economic it's massively problematic in terms of our economics, in terms of the life and death aspect. It really affects everything we're doing. We all have to take a piece and a role in both accountability and finding a solution to the problem. If you're waiting for Concord to solve this problem, it's probably not going to happen. Not under this administration, at least. We need to come together and have a cultural change and a cultural reset button in terms of what this is. Addiction is not a crime, but that doesn't mean we should be holding folks accountable to the crimes that are committed. So we need to. It's going to take everyone to get together to fight this issue, but we need leadership on it that we just haven't had.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's true.
And the train, you bring up my favorite topic.
I know, I love
the commuter train.
I know, I want to try it, would like the trains.
I'll get you a little engineer hat you can wear.
I've got one home, thank you. But I really feel,
Sure.
They want to widen 93, so we're spending money for that. But yet, if you could get the trains back going again.
Yeah, but you have to understand, even at the most aggressive studies that have been done, and we spent millions to date on studies. It's crazy how much we spend in studies. Even at the most optimistic, if it was the most successful train in the country, which is what they're basing their study on, you're still taking maybe 0.5% of the cars off the road. You're taking maybe 2,000 people a day to work down to Boston. I have the Downeaster, comes right by Exeter, right by my house, and I've been out there at 8 in.the morning, and guess how many people get off the train to go to work? Zero.
Yeah.
None. Nobody's taking the train from Greater Boston to New Hampshire to go to work.
No, of course not.
I can come out and witness it. It doesn't happen. Now, would it help more commuters get to Boston? Yeah, a couple thousand a day, sure. I-93, 153 red-listed bridges, thousands of miles. We have about 2,000 miles of poor, fair to poor conditioned roads. That's where really our money has to go. So I wouldn't mind a train if we could afford the $300, $400 million it would take to build it. Our priorities have to be bridges and roads that right now hundreds of thousands of people drive across a day, not just a couple thousand people getting into Boston. It's a nice project, but it's about priorities. And we need to, and good leadership in the state sets the priorities. Bridges and roads, I-93, some of our big core projects, the Saralong Bridge is a big one. Once those get off the books, and we've paid for them, we've built them, we've developed that infrastructure. Exit 4A in Londonderry, great example. We have a potential $1 billion of development that's going to come up into there. Okay, let's invest the $20 or $40 million, whatever it takes to get that exit done, so that $1 billion of economic infrastructure can come. People complain, well, why didn't you put the $4 million in to do the study, another study for the train? There is absolutely no economic way to pay for it right now. No one knows where this $300 million will actually come from viably. So until we have a way to pay for it, I'm not going to go spending the taxpayer dollars on studying something that isn't really achievable. Has been talked about at DOT, but even the Department of Transportation knows it's not a viable project and really shouldn't be in our priority list right now. I'm focused on our priorities in the state, get those things taken care of, then we can worry about the wish list as opposed to the needs list. That's all.
That's all.
Yeah.
See, to me, it's the buses. The buses don't want the trains in here, the passenger trains, because it's going to maybe take people away from them. But to me, Manchester Airport can't survive. I mean, they need the trains in here because they get the international flights in here then.
Well, you should talk to some folks at Manchester Airport.
I did.
Yeah,
and that's what they told me.
So we had a discussion with them very bluntly, and the deputy director at the time said, "Well, a train. Most of the Manchester flights leave between 6 and 8 o'clock. Because they're doing the commuter flights to New York and Washington. That means a train would have to arrive by 6, which means people would have to get on it in Massachusetts by 5:15, which means they're leaving their house at 4:30. At that point, they're just driving." People also don't realize that the amount of revenue that the airport would lose in terms of parking revenue would be substantial. Yeah, it would be nice to start getting international flights, but let's remember, Manchester Airport has been losing flights left and right.
Of course they have.
We haven't even maintained what we could be maintaining. I think Manchester Airport needs to focus on getting their number of flights back up nationally before we start wishfully thinking over international flights. Let's focus on the capacity that we have, as opposed to just trying to put something onto it that maybe isn't worth the efforts right now.
Well, isn't that because Boston Airport has kind of lowered their prices, so people say, hey, let's just go to Boston now.
That's
right. For a while, it was nice to go to Manchester because of the parking and the distance down there.
When I grew up in New Hampshire, we called it Taxachusetts, right?
Oh, yeah.
Massachusetts was kind of the butt of our jokes in terms of economic growth and the busy and crowded traffic in the airport and all that. And Manchester was growing. It was wonderful. They've done a very good job turning things around in that state. And now we're trying to catch up with them. To your point, Boston's lowered their prices. They've become more competitive. We need leadership at Manchester Airport in Manchester to make us more competitive. And we just haven't done it. Let's focus on getting back to that competitive edge, again, before we start focusing on priorities that maybe are beyond our reach right now. Let's just prioritize, get back to basics, get the state back with local control, with a vision, and achieving on realistic goals and results. That's going to start edging us back and making us more competitive with Massachusetts.
Of course, Rockingham now is going to be history because obviously the horses down there, I guess, are
You mean Rockingham
gone.
Park? Yeah, in Salem.
That's gone. Yeah. And the casino, of course, you might as well forget that because Boston, Massachusetts is going to be building a big casino not too far from my doorstep.
Could be, yeah. People ask me about the casino all the time, and I wasn't if done right and for the right reasons, I'm all for casinos. I'm a free market guy. If someone has a good business model coming here to grow jobs and economic growth, absolutely, it's a whole new world in terms of that stuff. But it has to be a good, viable economic model. Rockingham is for sale. The latest, there is no active casino bill right now. Maybe down the road. One thing I'll say about that industry is you never know where it's going to go and what's going to come up next. There's always opportunities somewhere, somehow. So I wouldn't say it's completely dead, but yeah, I don't. There's no clear path right now. But we got it. I never say no to anything in terms of economic opportunity. And maybe another viable model will present itself. You never know.
Well, what gets me is, and in the House, in fact, I even wrote an editorial in Montre about it, was that how the gambling is addictive. Well, what the heck isn't addictive?
Right. Yeah.
I mean, they don't want gambling, but yet you walk over the lottery store, go over there, and what do you got? Right. You've got $1, $2, $3, $5, $10, $20, $25.
Yeah.
And then they're talking about a $50 lottery scratch ticket.
Yeah.
Now we go mega bucks, tri-state numbers there, Powerball, daily numbers, cash lotto.
Yeah. Don't forget Keno and the charity poker rooms that we have. So
that's not gambling?
Of course it is.
Excuse me, I thought it was.
Yeah, of course it is. So again, if casinos want to come in here in a good, viable economic way, now you need to understand what the model is going to be. Make sure law enforcement buys off the local chambers. You don't want to impact the other local economic drivers, which could have negative effects potentially. You need to weigh all that out, get input from them. Whether you're talking about the state pension fund or bringing in casinos or Obamacare and healthcare, whatever we do in the state, we need to do a better job of getting the stakeholder input, right? Talk to people. Be transparent about things.
Yeah.
Get their input. Doesn't mean you always have to agree, but invite them to the table. Have a place at the table. Now, you need a good leader to lead those discussions and drive the discussions home, but I'm a big believer in no matter what you do, you don't vilify people, you don't go negative on people, you stay optimistic, you bring people in, you surround yourself with smart people, and you get the state moving in a good direction. Let's get politics out of it. Let's start doing things different in Concord. Let's get politics out of the decision making and just get good, smart people in there to drive this state back to where we should be.
I know, because I can tell you this term in the House has been, I think, one of the most contentious ones I've seen since I first got elected.
Well, you've seen a few.
Yeah.
You've seen a few.
But this year, boy, I mean,
some hard issues. Some hard issues to deal with. Medicaid and
that. Plus, you've got a party that's divided because they didn't like the current speaker, so they got their own little group over there, and there's nobody working together. It's all. I've never seen such a thing in my life.
You know, one thing I will say, I'm a Republican, and I believe in the party, and I believe in good, strong, conservative principles. I tend to be a little more moderate on the social issues, as you know.
Oh, that's okay. I'm a moderate.
Yeah, but you know, I didn't get into this for social issues. I choose to donate my time and serve the state because I do believe in if you work hard on your economic issues, if you work hard in getting education right, and you work hard in understanding the needs of the customer, right? I run a ski resort. I think of everybody as a customer. What do we need to get them what they need in an easy way, get the bureaucracy out of it so they can go about their business of taking care of their families, their jobs, and their lives. Get government out of people's way. Yeah. Now, when it comes to the party, I'll say, you know, I think we have I have a lot of support for in Speaker Jasper. I think he's been doing a very good job. It's not easy keeping control of 400 House members. That's a tall task, and I don't wish that on anyone. I think he's done a very admirable job there. Senator Morse is a great friend. I think he's been doing a good job in the Senate. But in terms of the Republican Party, we do need someone at the top that's going to galvanize people together and bring people together and say, we're not going to agree on everything every time, and that's okay. Yeah. But the 80% of what I call the Republican values of low taxes, limited government, local control, those are the things we really can agree on. And let's focus on those. It's okay to argue over the other things. That's democracy. That's part of the process. But you do need some good leadership to bring this party together and get things done. Not just from a political standpoint, but from a party standpoint. There's a difference there. It's not about politicizing and saying, well, the Democrats are over here and we're over there. No. A good leader can get their party together to say, we're going to listen to the other side, and we're going to listen to this side. And we're going to have good leadership in the middle to find compromise without compromising our principles. There's nothing wrong with that. Negotiate good contracts for the state, negotiate good deals for the state, make sure we're doing the right thing of getting bureaucracy and business and overregulation out of the way of business, and drive forward on those real fundamental values that I think almost everyone in New Hampshire can really subscribe to.
Well, that's what I like to do. I like to sit there and listen. I mean, they've told me I'm a moderate, and I am. I like to listen to the other side, because who knows? Maybe that's what I might vote for. I don't know. I know I am, yes, Democrat, but still I want to hear what the other side's got to say.
It's important, and it's important for both sides. And you know, I worked with Governor Lynch for a couple of years, and he was a great governor to work for.
Oh, I miss him.
And we might not have agreed politically on things, but you know, Governor Lynch really taught me about. You know, you can have good discussions and good debate. You leave it there on the table. You don't hold grudges. It's not personal. It's a simple difference of opinion. You win some, you lose some, you move on, because you all do care about the state. And we have to remind people that, even though we might disagree politically, everybody really does want what is best in the state's interest. And when you accept that about who you're talking to on the other side of the table, it's a much easier conversation, because you know you're both trying to achieve a similar goal. You might just have different ways of getting there. There's nothing wrong with debating that out. Let's get back to good government. Let's get rid of the politics. And that's the real change we need to bring to Concord. You know, the days of the same old politicians for the last 20 years, that's done. I want to be a new and fresh face with fresh ideas, bring some business experience, fix Concord, fundamentally change the way we do things, and get the state moving forward, so that we create a state for my kids, for your kids, for your audience's kids, for the businesses of this state. I mean, that's what I'm doing this for. It's for my business, it's for my kids, but indirectly it's for everyone else's too, and that's important. If we do that and we have that frontline experience, we can really make a difference. I believe it. I'm an eternal optimist, but I really do believe it.
Hey, that's good there, Chris. You got to be. And always, like you said, listen to your people.
Listen
and
to
for
your
God's
people.
sakes, don't get up there and promise this and pledge that, because any politician who gets up there and says, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that, they are really foolish.
I don't make campaign. The one promise I do make, I always tell people. I sat with the firefighters union the other day, and I saw some police chiefs this morning. Open door.
Yeah.
Whether we agree or disagree, you will always have an open door in the governor's office. And not about politics. You have an issue, come on in. Let's talk about it. Doesn't mean we're going to agree, but you always have an open door, and we're going to be transparent about what we do. I love the executive council because every meeting we have is open, public, televised. There's nothing behind closed doors. It's a wonderful process. We're the only state that really has an executive council, and it's really taught me to cherish those ideals. That's what we need to bring back to the corner office.
I know we got to come close, but when you say open door, it amazes me because you don't get in that open door. You got to go through this one, and finally it might get to you. That's what really irritates people. You never can get right to the horse.
Right.
You got to go through this, and it's disgusting.
Look, I keep my cell phone number and my email address on the website. You and I have Facebook message directly before.
Yes.
And again, not that the governor can do that with every single constituent every time. I understand that, but you got to be able to do it when you have to do it. And that's look. I grew up in a household when my father was governor in the '80s when I was a kid. He insisted we had our phone number and our address in the phone book, and that's just the way it was. And if you wanted to call the governor, you could look in the phone book, pick up the phone, and call him.
That's right.
And that's what's so unique about New Hampshire. We have to get back to that at some level of transparency and better. And that in itself spurs better communication amongst the parties, and it gets rid of all this negative, nasty politicization. Is that a word? It's my George Bush word.
There you go.
Politicization of that we have in Concord. We got to do things differently and take it to a new level.
Well, we're coming to a close around town. We've been sitting here talking with Chris Sununu, who is a candidate for the office of governor from the Republican Party. So if you have any questions, please contact him. He is a governor's counselor. And I
have my website, chrissununu.com. You can check me out there, or you can go to the Executive Council website. Or just go up to waterville.com. We're not open now, but we'll be taking summer reservations for golf and skiing.
Well, there you go. And you'll be seeing Chris on again before the primary in September. So thanks for joining us.
Appreciate
and look forward to seeing you at the State House and answer your calls.
Absolutely. Anytime.
Okay. Thank you with my director, Ian Marks, and we'll see you soon and around town.